The first thing you want to do when you're starting seeds is to get clean, non-chlorinated water. There are a couple ways of making sure the water you use, especially if it's your municipal water, to get it non-chlorinated is to either you run an air bubbler through it so it can off gases all the chlorine, or alternatively you can leave the water standing overnight so all of the chlorine will off gas. This ensures that none of the beneficial bacteria that in your soil mix are killed due to the chlorine in the water. In addition to the water, you're also going to need heating mats, which basically heat up the soil about 10 to 20 degrees above ambient temperature. And you're going to need some kind of seed starting trays and a seed starting mix. What I'm using this here is Fox Farms Light Warrior blend, which the nice thing about this is it's got humic acid and mycorrhizal fungi built into the soil itself. The easiest way I've found to fill the seed trays is to first empty part of the bag of the seed starting mix into a large container. In this case, I'm just using this big red tote. What I'm going to do is basically empty it in here and then make sure you kind of go through the soil and break up any larger particles, because when your seeds are starting, you want to make sure that there is a degree of compaction of the soil, but it's still relatively loose and there aren't too many gaps, so the moisture can get to all the seeds evenly once you actually put the seeds into the seed starting trays. Once you've gotten the soil into your container, you want to gradually add in the dechlorinated water. You want to make sure that the water is dechlorinated again, because there is a lot of beneficial bacteria in this particular blend, so I want to make sure that I don't kill any of that, because chlorine will actually neutralize a lot of that. What you want to do is make sure you gradually mix in the soil with the water and make sure you get every part of it wet. The reason for this is most of the seed starting mixes contain peat moss, which by itself, when it is first dry, it repels water, so it's not easy to get it wet and soaked. When you gradually mix it in, it gets thoroughly wet and will actually release the water that it absorbs slowly to the plants and seeds and help them grow a lot better. Next thing you want to do is put the soil into the seed starting trays. The soil for this needs to be evenly moistened, and then you want to layer them evenly into each one of the cells. Once you do that, you want to also make sure that you tamp down the cells lightly, not press it too much. You don't want to create a very compacted soil mixture. You want to leave it loose enough so that once the seed sprouts, it can actually the root system can work its way through, and it needs to be compacted essentially enough so that the moisture evenly surrounds the seedlings that are in there. This is what the final result of putting the soil into the trays looks like. Each one of these have been filled in with an even amount of soil. I've slightly tamped down the soil mixture to make sure that they are evenly compacted in there, but not overly compacted at the same time. What we're now going to do is, once I've finished all of this, I'm going to let it sit for a little bit so it kind of evens out, and then we are going to basically put the seeds in the mixture. This year, I'm starting about 25 different varieties of seeds. Pretty much all of these are heirloom. A couple of them are hybrids that I've used, but none of them are, genetically modified in any way, shape, or form. Most of the plants I'm growing this year are going to be either peppers, tomatoes, collards. The places that I've sourced them from are Baker Creek Seeds, Johnny Selected Seeds, and a couple of them are from Pepper Joe's. You can get them from any source. I know they have pretty good deals generally from Burpee or Seeds of Change at Walmart, at Home Depot, or any other big box store that you want to choose. You want to plan out your seed starting before you actually get around to planting them. Also, it's very important to label them so you know what your seedlings are once they start growing up as well. The next step in this is, once you have laid out all your seeds and planned what you're going to plant, is to lightly tamp down each one of the cells so you remove any outstanding air pockets in there. In my case, I am basically going to be putting in one seed per cell. That way it's a lot easier for me to transplant. In prior years I have put in more than one seed. I know sometimes it is, people generally recommend that. I found it a lot better to do just one at a time, because that way it's a lot easier to transplant that plug. What you want to do is, using a tool, I have an old tool that I had gotten with the pellet plugs, which kind of turns out to be pretty handy for me to plant the seeds. You want to make about a 1 centimeter hole using even a ballpoint pen or a pencil, and then individually put each one of the seeds in there. Once that's done, you close out the hole and then kind of lightly tamp them down to reseal them. I'm going to go ahead and do this for the entire seed starting tray, and then I'll catch up with you guys again once I'm done with that. One important thing to remember when you are doing this is not to plant the seeds too deep. This generally, when you have bad germination rates, it's generally because either you're overwatering, underwatering, or you've planted it too deep. So the seed has to pretty much overwork to get out and kind of sprout out. Make sure you don't make the holes deeper than 1 centimeter. It's always advisable to look at the instructions on the seed packets. They're generally pretty useful for you when you are planting and starting seeds. Once you're done planting the seeds, the labeling completes the process. This is what my end result looks like with the seeds planted, labels put in place. Uh, and what I do in addition to this is, now I'm going to be putting on propagation mats under each one of these trays that will help me maintain the temperature between 75 and 85 degrees for maximum germination rate. Also, I use a humidity controlled dome. It's basically a 4-inch tall plastic dome. This helps me control the amount of moisture that's escaping from there, as well as letting me control the temperature that's surrounding the each one of the seedlings. This one that I use also has little vents on top that help me control the humidity level and the amount of air that's circulating in there by just kind of sliding it open and controlling the opening width. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please leave comments and let me know how this helped you guys out.